One of the things that the audience can look forward to over the next year or so is I am going to create a brand new buy box. I am going to look at a new market. I'm going to meet a lot of folks. And my goal, just like 2001, 2002, is to get 4 rental properties. And one of the individuals that is going to help me do that, and I would argue be one of the keys to making that happen, is Joe D. Someone that I've known for quite a while, a great friend of the channel, knows Ty and Thatch and all of those folks for 30 plus years. So let's welcome Joe D to the show. How you doing, man?
Wow, thank you, Michael. I'm honored to be a part of this. I'm excited and been not only a long time listener, a long time fan.
There you go. Well, I appreciate that. Do me a favor, introduce the audience to who is Joe D, where you're at in the Vegas market, a little bit about your history, and we'll kind of get into this and how I see this going forward.
All right. Full name Joe DiRaffaele. Although probably since kindergarten, the name Joe D came about for a couple reasons. Nobody gets past the D, number one.
Yeah.
And there always seems to be another Joe in the group. So it just seems pretty easy. I'm originally from New York, moved to Las Vegas in 1986 to become a running rebel. Went to college here. Actually got my degree in hospitality administration.
Ah,
One of my claim to fames is a fraternity brother, and subsequently afterwards, a co-manager of a restaurant was none other than Guy Fieri.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so he and I managed a restaurant together in Southern California for a couple of years. He stayed in the industry. I realized that as much as I liked the service end, I didn't like the nights, the weekends, every holiday. Moved back to Vegas, got into real estate 29 years ago here in Vegas, and spent my whole career here. I love this city. I got to be honest, having been raised in the East Coast, there's things that I like about the East Coast, but I prefer to visit. California got way too crowded, way too expensive, way too tax happy. Vegas is just easy. Like it gets hot in the summer, but every market has a challenge, and that's an easy one.
Yeah.
And been fortunate to have built a good career here. I spend the bulk of my time on relationships. Old school and early in my career, dialing, hours and hours on end, did very well at it. But I found much more fulfilling to be able to help people that I know I like and want to talk to regularly. So
Yeah.
make it a key focus.
And that's going to be one of the keys here, because I think what I want to document between us really is going to be how I see a new investor learning a new market. There are a lot of people that watch this channel that will have interest in Las Vegas. And obviously I want them to reach out to you and do their own thing. So hopefully this is, this will certainly consume some of your time, no question. It will hopefully undoubtedly be a lead magnet for you. I know you see that, hence your your easy yes answer when I ask you for this crazy idea. But I do hope it's beneficial on that end. But what I really want,
I'm going to go a step further on that. Why that yes was so easy.
okay,
And really, it's because of the value that I see that you bring to my life. From the information you share, from the viewpoint, I respect the work that you put in, and the commitment you have to providing like legit. Like there's a lot of stuff out there, and this, that it's all hype. It's all they'll take 2% of what's going on and they'll make it seem like it's everything. You have always been right down the middle, regardless of what the market's doing. So when you said you had an idea and I was an opportunity, I'm like, yes. So I'm looking forward to this.
I appreciate it. Well, again, I want to kind of give a timeline or a vision of where I think this goes, right? I think at the end of, let's call it 2 years, I want to have 4 rental properties in Las Vegas. What those are, I have no idea yet. Where those are, I have no idea yet. Are they existing home sales or new? I have no idea. There's a lot that I don't know yet. And ultimately, what the first thing I want to do with you is kind of highlight what I think is possible. But ultimately, I would hope in the next 30 days, I have a buy box. You know what my buy box is. And we just start, or I start looking at it every day. I start asking you questions.
Okay.
I am going to tap into your network because I want to meet more people. I want to talk to more people about Vegas and what's been their experience, and all of those things, which we'll get to in a minute. But I think there's a couple of things that I need to answer and will need your help on first. That is where. So if I flash back to Fresno, California 20 years ago, I knew nothing about it. Frankly, I know more about Vegas than I did Fresno 20 years ago because I spent 6 months trying to buy a home there. So I know a little bit, but I don't know enough.
Okay.
So the first thing I need to know is what area to focus on. Where is kind of middle of Vegas, where people, it's not war zone, it's not, gated community or whatnot. I think in Vegas, another thing that I think I need to understand is, do I go back to some of the old stuff, right? That was maybe built in the 80s and 90s that was really nice then, but now is so out of date, it doesn't attract new folks. Maybe there's a deal to be had. Do I look for builders who maybe are on their last phase or the last couple of homes and buy one of those turnkey as a rental? I mean, these are all these things I'm thinking about. That's where I think we start. Where would I, as a new investor who wants cash flow? I'm not interested in appreciation. I'm not interested in flipping. 20-25% down's fine. I'm going to put 30-year money on these. Seller financing is great. If we find somebody who wants to sell a portfolio, I can do that. Why don't you ask the questions that maybe are running through your head now?
Just getting those last couple little sound bites written down so I can speak to them. So I think the first question that you ask is probably the most important one. Is we take this map of the city and we talk about where. And so when we talk about where, I'm going to first defer to what your experience has been about what clientele or what properties have attracted the type of tenants that you enjoy or you want more of here in town. Because you said the word middle Vegas, and I'm assuming that's like a middle income or middle.
Right.
Okay.
Middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, so when Olivia and I were shopping for homes, we were shopping in Summerland, and our price point was 7 figures and above. That's not going to be a rental.
Okay.
Right. But that could be lots of things. It could be a townhome. It could be a small home. It could be, maybe you get a little bit more home in a yard, but you go existing. I think that's really where, I'm at. Like, what, just again, I'm just doing this in real time with you and the audience.
Yeah.
One area that intrigued me was right off the strip. There's this old gated community. It was a country club. Is it just Vegas Country Club, or what is that called?
So let me think for a second. Off the strip, more
There's a golf club.
more centrally located. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the country club. It's the old school OG.
Yeah, because I looked in there really quick as a buyer. I'm like, nope, doesn't meet my needs. Da 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 da. But I looked at it. I'm like, I got to come back here because maybe this is a good rental area. It's a bigger home, typically 1-story, golf course. It seems to have a lot of amenities. It is gated with guards, right? Guard gated.
Yep.
I got to admit that intrigued me a little bit. And again, I liked them because they were old. What I see happening in Vegas, and I could be completely wrong, I'm still very much an outsider, is eventually what is old today will eventually become new again. Right? We're going farther and farther out in Vegas, building bigger and bigger stuff eventually. And again, my plan is to hold these for 30 years. I'm not flipping these. So if I could, in theory, make cash flow in the country club, get 3-4 units there, and then just let time go by and then let people go, hey, instead of being so out of town, I want to be in town, and you've cleaned up the homeless crap that's around it. That was intriguing to me. I remember going, I got to talk to Joe D about that area. But for all I know, there's rental restrictions and you can't rent there for all I know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't believe there is. I will say that, one of the things that's going to be challenged from the cash flow perspective, especially on older communities, is the maintenance. And so the HOA tends to be a little higher. And, that's something we're going to have to take into consideration
Sure.
on the acquisition price to make sure we buy it at a deep enough price that we can say, yeah, this makes sense.
Right.
One of the other things worth noting on some of the older stuff, you mentioned older 80s and 90s, and certainly there was a massive construction boom that started through that time period and it really never let up. But if we go back before that into the 60s, you'll see a lot of it's really, really cool old architecture. One of the challenges we're seeing that is the sewer lines are collapsing.
Ooh,
Uh, that the
ceramic or
old,
whatever.
yeah, the old, they're not cast iron. I'm trying to think of what the material is, but they're definitely, they're degrading. And how do I know? My wife and I bought a property to flip 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We did well on it because we bought it really well, but
Right.
not as well as we could have if we didn't have to put $20,000 into running a new sewer line from
Yeah.
the street up through the middle of the house. Uh,
Oh, I've done that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So note to self, we will be scoping lines on anything that we buy that's old.
100%, yes. So I would talk about a couple of things that I look at, and I think you'll identify with from a rental standpoint. I look for things that are in close proximity to other really good things. So
Yes.
I'll make that statement real simple. If I like Summerlin, which I like Summerlin, I'm not going to necessarily want to pay Summerlin price, because just to be in Summerlin, you're probably not $100,000 right away just to get in there because of the parks and the communities and the amenities. But if you can buy just outside of Summerlin,
Right.
you now have the access to all that, and you're not paying that extra price.
Exactly.
Um, I like access to the 215 freeway from an employment standpoint. It attracts a lot of people that want ease and convenience. It
Yep.
also opens up where they're going to go for work, right? It
Yep.
doesn't have to just be, if we buy down in the core, we're going to cater to people who are going to be working in the core of the city.
Yeah.
Um,
The core would be 15, right up to 15. Is that,
Yeah,
am
the
I starting to get this right?
15, the kind of the center, anywhere between Sahara, the 15,
Yeah.
in that, if we drew a pin on the map and
Right.
do a radius from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Areas that I'm
We're
not a
right off.
fan,
We're right off the 215 where we purchased. So that's good.
and it makes it easy for you to get into
Mhm.
town, to get anywhere else.
Yeah.
You're
Get in, zip, zip, zip. Zip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
one of the areas that I'm not a fan of, mostly because of the infrastructure, and it seems like they're further behind in the evolution of the submarket, is the northeast end of the valley.
Okay.
Your dollar will go further there, meaning you're going to get more house, more land for your dollar, but it's not easy to get in and out of.
Right.
You're going to take the 95 freeway around through downtown and
Yeah.
out to Henderson. You've got some cool homes, and there's nothing wrong with the neighborhoods, but I just find them particularly challenging to get the kind of tenant that you had
Is that
mentioned.
like Lake, whatever that is, Lake
Lake
Vegas or whatever that?
Lake Mead
Or
and
yeah, that
Nellis.
area. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Nellis Air Force Base is a little further out there, but that
That
generally.
area, yeah. That
Yeah,
makes sense to me. We looked there very casually when we were shopping. It's like, nope, we're not buying there. It just felt remote.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So
that makes sense.
when you do rentals and you do the cash flow aspect, are you looking exclusively for just long term, like park it, set it, forget it? Are you doing
Yeah.
furnished?
No, I'd be well, I'm not opposed to furnished.
Okay,
Again, Vegas may be unique there. The current market I'm in, everything was unfurnished
okay,
because people brought them. But if if you're telling if you're telling me that I could get year-long rentals or greater furnished, that might be an option. I'm not opposed to it. But my intention, coming to you was just boring, long-term,
okay.
rentals, safe, secure. But yeah, I mean, if I got a better return by putting 10 grand of furniture in, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of furnished. They're shorter term, long term, meaning 6 months to 9 months, sometimes as long as a year. We do have a unique aspect in this city, is that a lot of people are coming here that don't know where they want to live yet.
Right.
Or they're here for, they've got a 1 year project, 2 year project.
Yep.
They just want to set it and forget it and not worry
Okay.
about anything. So that could be
Well,
something.
well, let's talk about that. I mean, again, this is why we're talking. This is why the audience is getting to look at our conversations and do all this. So take one of your examples, your furnished rentals, the last one you rented for 6 months. If you don't want to say the exact number, give me a round number.
I'll give you
What,
everything.
all right. So what did that rent for?
So I'm gonna back up before I tell you what it
Sure.
rents for now.
Okay.
Traditionally, it would rent about $2,000 to $2,100 a month. It's a
Okay.
single story,
Yep.
3 bedrooms, 3 baths,
Mhm.
2-car garage on an 8,000 square foot lot.
Okay.
Okay, it's a little older. It was built in the 80s, right?
All right. Yep.
Um, we rent that easy all day long, $3,250 a month.
Okay.
And in the last 3 years, I've had maybe 5 days vacant.
So you're getting an extra 1,000 to 1,100 bucks furnished. When you say furnished, you're really just talking furniture, or are you talking like
No,
full
everything.
Airbnb, everything? Okay.
Yeah,
What-
yeah. All they have to bring is a toothbrush and their clothes. We've
There
got
you go.
sheets, towels, pots, pans. I mean, coffee
Okay.
maker, waffle maker, but just whatever we thought that somebody would want to use.
Okay.
And the type of people that we get in there, one, we get people who have sold their home and their new
Right.
home's not going to be ready for 6 months.
Yep.
Right now we have somebody in there that they had an insurance issue where one of the pipe burst in their house,
Mhm.
and they had to move out for restoration.
Sure.
And they'll be in 6 months by the time they move out in January.
Okay. I've never done one. So what did you budget for the stuff? Are we talking 10, 15, 20 grand?
So I'm blessed that I've got a wife who's very conservative, and has a great eye. We actually have acquired a lot of the furniture, if not for nothing, next to nothing.
Okay.
We talk to people all the time about what they want to get rid of. But I would say safely, yeah, you shouldn't be more than 10 grand on it. Your
Okay.
most expensive things are probably going to be, like a quality mattress.
Sure.
You want people comfortable in there, but we'll head into like Costco or Sam's and buy the dish sets, the
Yeah.
silver, the towels, and they're good quality. They're adorable, and they work.
Yeah. There you go. So this, again, that seems like a pretty easy return, right? Spend 10 grand or even spend 12, get an extra 1,000 bucks. Your payback period's a year.
Yeah.
Right. So that makes sense to me. Um,
One of the
what,
things I would note on that, Michael, is because of the increased rent that we charge, we get really, really good tenants. We have traditional rentals as well, and they do well, but they tend to be a little harder lived in
yeah.
than this scenario. And
Okay.
we've got a couple of the furnished properties, and so we've always been intrigued by it. We thought, oh boy, this, let's give it a go, but let's be prepared. We might have to replenish stuff all the
Yeah.
time. We find it to be quite the opposite. It's like the people come in are
Okay.
either because they're paying more, they can afford more, they're not as wear and tear, but they're also, it seems like, and a lot of them are just, they're not living in the home a lot. They're there and gone, like they're sleeping there for the night,
Right.
doing whatever. And if they're here for a project or whatever they're doing, it's not a hard living.
Yeah, they're doing whatever they're supposed to do. Okay, so again, I'm not opposed to that. I think
Okay.
that definitely deserves to kick the tires and make sense. Next time we're in Vegas, maybe we'll come by and drive by, some of the areas where you have some units. That would be good.
Okay.
The other thing that's really intriguing, again, just because where we are in the cycle, and again, because everybody in Vegas, the one idea that did intrigue me was finding a builder who's looking to close out their development. I've done that a couple of times years ago, and you can work out some pretty sweetheart deals. So I'm not opposed to that. Again, that would be very much a one-off probably. But, every once in a while you hear about a builder that's got 2 properties left and they're looking to deal to get out of Dodge.
Well,
The price is right. That could work.
yeah, when they're trying to close out a new home development, they've got a couple things. One, they're done with it. Like
Yeah.
they're tired of looking at it. They don't want to staff it. There's really nothing else going on over there. So to your point, it's harder to find a deal from a new home builder when they're in the middle of a project.
Correct.
And mostly because they're worried about how the comp set is going to affect future sales.
Yes.
When they're at the end, they're like, well, we made our money. We're moving on.
We're out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That last house is usually all profit is too.
That's
I mean, let's
exactly
just be,
right.
yeah, that's the
exactly right.
profit one.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely something, especially as we head into the fourth and early first quarter here.
Yeah.
I think, and you'd know this as well. I think some of the builders are definitely motivated to move some stuff to get
Yeah.
units up, you know.
Yeah.
So
The other thing I have to work on yet is um at least in Fresno, California, every time I bought a house that has a pool, I've knocked it out. I've paid to get permits, blown out the bottom because I didn't want to have that. I don't know Vegas. My intention is the same. I don't want the liability, right? The last thing I want is a phone call, you know, bad stuff happen.
ugh.
Um, but I don't know. Vegas maybe requires a pool. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have had rentals in the past that have pools, and I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Um, you could probably get 150 to maybe 200, 250 more a month, especially if it comes up for renewal in the springtime as we're heading
Right.
into the summer. But if you're going to do that, you have to have your own pool person who's taking care of
Yeah.
that.
It's not worth it.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're going to trade the money right back to the pool guy or pool gal that's caring for it. So
So
I'm with
no
you.
pool in my buy box is what I'm getting from Joe. We'll just cut that one off. I don't want to buy a home with a pool.
You got it.
Yes. That is awesome. That goes right in the buy box. No pool. Sorry, folks. I just don't want that. I mean, I bought apartment buildings and I blew out the pool. So not my thing. I just don't want to get that. I don't want that phone call. Um, what other questions should I be thinking about? Or again, we'll talk to more investors. Again, I'm gonna go through this journey and let the audience watch me get a new market. But what are other thoughts or questions you might have?
So I'm kind of I'm a basic guy in terms of when we talk about this. Like I like to look for the highest probability of tenant that I can attract. Your point of could we buy a rental over $1 million? Absolutely. Is there a market for it? Absolutely. But the market gets really, really small real fast. And any disruption in the market that could be a challenge. So for me, 3 to 4 bedrooms are
Yep.
absolutely key. I like 2-car garages minimum.
Certainly in
Um,
Vegas. Yes.
yeah, this heat out here, and we don't have storage. Like
Yeah.
we don't have basements or things like that. So if you don't park in the 2 cars, maybe you park in one, but the kids' bicycles or whatever other stuff, it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
Um, and then the other thing is whether or not you have a particular care one way or the other for 1 or 2 story. Um,
Yeah. Again, I'm not opposed to either. I mean, a preference would be 1 story. That's a lot of
okay,
what we have already. I would prefer a backyard because again, that's what people want these days. So I'm thinking 1 story, probably nothing smaller than 5,000 square foot lot.
okay,
8,000 would be fine, but also probably nothing bigger than 8,000.
right.
Um, you know, unless it's you're getting the lot for free. I like fenced. Most stuff I've seen in Vegas is fenced.
Well, we're,
Stuff.
we're going to go a step further than fence. They're block walled.
Yeah, they're block walled. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
one of the major reasons for that is it takes so long for the landscaping to grow in that it's easier to get your privacy like day one. Because if you put a stick in the ground, 5 to 7 years later, when you're selling it, the next guy's going to get the benefit of it. So
Yeah.
yep.
Um, what else? Yeah, so
Well,
I'm not opposed to new or existing. I think I have to figure that out. Eventually, hopefully in 30 days, you and I have this tight buy box right now. Right now, we know it's no pool. That's
yep.
pretty much that's all we know, I think, at this point.
And are you good if we found, you've mentioned something, maybe something older that somebody's had for a while that hasn't updated it?
Not a
Um,
problem.
okay, you're good about bringing them back to life.
Yeah. And again, the beauty of those is I've bought a lot of those in my career. Sometimes you don't even need to bring them up today, but when you look to exit or 1031, that's when you upgrade them. I have no problem. Like I bought plenty of houses that had the old 1980s green and yellow tiles,
Mhm.
but they're safe, secure, they're not chipping. Guess what? Sometimes I replace, sometimes I didn't.
So what I find intriguing, Michael, is that if we look at the market and we'll talk about like some of the things I hear you and Ty talk about a lot in terms of the impact of interest rates. The rental market is very healthy, very strong, because a lot of people who would be or potentially
Exactly.
would have been buyers are now turning out to be renters. Um,
Exactly.
and so as long as the property is something somebody can move in and feel comfortable with, You don't have to have the latest and greatest, because a lot of them are thinking through the lens of, I'm going to move in the next,
Right.
12 to 24 months, as soon as rates get to a place where I feel comfortable buying again.
Exactly right. No, I think that's a lot of them. I think that's a lot of folks is they want the space and access to a home. They just can't
Mhm.
buy now, or they can buy, but they don't want to because it stretches their payment. So they're going to rent for a year or 2 years to whenever this thing goes the other direction. So yeah, I don't need to buy the nicest, newest thing. If the nicest, newest thing is the best return, of course I will. But I have no problem buying a 1960s home that is not perfect. No problem.
As
I have
long as
no
we
problem
scope
in
it,
buying the oldest. Yeah.
scope the
Yeah.
pipe.
Scope the line. Yeah. Scope the sewer line.
Well,
Because again,
let
if
me
I got
throw
to
a
put in a new sewer line, I'm just going to get that off the price. Fine with me.
Let me throw in a couple things here that are coming to top of mind for me. Is driving distance from where you're currently located to where the rental, is that
Not
a
a problem.
concern for you? Okay.
Not a concern because I got to tell you, while I'm open to the idea of self-manage, I know I'm a lazy son of a gun and there's no chance I'm self-managing. But so no, does not matter. Does not matter.
Okay. So one of the things that I find intriguing is if we go up to the northwest quadrant of the valley, if you put in like Centennial
Okay.
area, just not necessarily just Centennial, but
Mhm.
that greater area up there. What's interesting about that area is your dollar will go a little further than where you're living down in
Mhm.
through the Green Valley and everything in that area in Henderson and Summerlin.
Okay.
But what's unique about it, and especially right now with where the rates are, is that we will cater to military,
Mm.
not necessarily just military, frontline guys, more officers that either are willing to drive out to Nellis, but they want their family in a good area, good schools,
Okay.
or B, they're going out to Creech Air Force Base, which is our drone base, which is located about 35 minutes outside of town. It's an easy access for them,
Okay.
but keeps the family in a good area. And if you've ever had military folks renting from you, I mean, for me, especially
Yeah.
officers, I mean, they're set it and forget it. You don't think about
Yep.
anything. They take care of them, and they're they absolutely pay on time.
Absolutely. Okay. That's good. All right. I'm taking that down. Any other thoughts or whatnot to try to get this party started?
Yeah, I think, when we look at, I like the Southwest area of town. I know appreciation was not important to you, but what I like about it is the demand is there now for rentals. That market is still being built out. A lot of infrastructure and a lot of retail and things of that nature are coming through there. And it's easy access to the airport, easy access to UNLV, easy access to the core of the strip. So you cater to a lot of big employment aspects in an area that still has growth from an appreciation standpoint. So if I compare that to like Summerlin or Green Valley, you're sitting in between the two, but you're not paying the premium that you
Right.
would pay for being in either one of those.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Give me some places to poke around. So what I think we'll do going forward is maybe we'll do a little bit of this online, kind of, hey, look at this, all that. We are coming back to Vegas early November. So hopefully I'll have a couple of areas where we can drive around and look at. But yeah, this is just the beginning, folks. This is what everybody should be doing. If they're looking at a brand new market, figure out what they want, what they don't want, where they want to be, where they don't want to be. This will be a multi-week, maybe even multi-month, given life happens process. But ultimately, at the end of this, Joe and I will get a buy box and we'll start hunting. This is just, this is just step one. We wanted to bring you guys along with this just to show how I start this thing. Joe, if somebody want to reach out to you and start their own buy box, start buying something in Vegas, how do they do that?
Yeah, there's two ways you can reach out to me. Call or text 702-630-6767, or they can shoot me an email, joe at dglv-exp.com. Either one.
There you go. Give the number one more time.
702-630-6767. And, if I don't answer, it's usually because I'm with somebody or I'm sleeping.
There you go. He does respond all the time. Jody, thank you very much, man. This will be a fun process to take everybody along with.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Mhm.